Something I've been looking forward to. I guess a movie made by a rapper, Boots Riley's "Sorry to Bother You," starring Lakeith Stanfield, Tessa Thompson, Stephen Yoon. Which I mean, shout out Glenn from The
Great
Walking
fucking
Dead.
look for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Congratulations.
And also great look for Boots Riley. His debut as a debut movie writing directing. I thought he killed it. It's not quite, I guess, Jordan Peele level, although people have been comparing this to Get Out.
There's a lot of comparisons to Get Out and Boots Riley's debut compared to Jordan Peele's debut. There's a lot of similarities for sure.
But definitely up there. When did you see this movie, and what was your reaction leaving it?
Yeah, I saw this last Friday. Second weekend of release. I mean, the first weekend was, I think, just New York and LA, only a handful of theaters. And it's still not really that wide yet, but it's making really good business at all the theaters, which is great to see for a non-blockbuster film. But I fucking love this movie. I thought it was incredibly unique, incredibly engaging, and just freaking original and entertaining, serious and funny. It's got everything, and of course, great actors that we already like. So to not spoil anything, because I know that we'll get into the spoilers because they're out there, but this is a movie that should not be skipped, and it's going to be in a big theater near most people. So take advantage of that, and you want to support movies like this when they come out, because this is so unique and such a just a total original creation from Boots Riley. He wrote the movie, I think, 2011, 2012 time. So finally got it made with great talent. And you got to support that when it happens.
Yeah, he has a lot to say. I mean, if you know anything about his funk rap group, The Coup, The Coop. I don't know exactly if it's The Coup or The Coop. But yeah, it's a political group. They have a lot to say. They have, they try to get a lot of points across in their music, which I think is great. And this movie touches on a lot of things. I mean, just to give like the broad overview, touched on capitalism, racism, classism and socialism. There's a lot there to look at. And I started off the movie. I forgot to pay for my parking. So I started off and I was like, oh, fuck, I'm going to get a ticket. And like, I was just thinking about that the whole time when this movie started. And I was like, I'm not even going to be able to enjoy this movie now because of this. Like, God damn it. Like, immediately pulled me in. It was like super engaging. I totally forgot about it, which I think is a great compliment to the movie, that like something that was causing me that much stress beforehand, I was able to just totally take that away. I left feeling just like trying to figure out like what was this movie really trying to say, and I think it's hard to really summarize it and explain it to someone that hasn't seen it, because it's trying to say so much.
Yeah, I think it's multiple messages, not one cohesive message or anything.
Exactly. But I thought it was great, and to your point, a lot of people we liked, and I already mentioned probably the three headliners, but Armie Hammer, our guy from Call Me By Your Name last year, just being the most Armie Hammer he can be.
Just throwing fucking fastballs from end of Act 2 on.
he was like born to play that role. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Winklevoss twins on cocaine. And that also, I mean, even just like the voice work, like Patton Oswalt and David Cross were great. Lily James also was good for the little bit that she was, voice acting in it. And I didn't even know Forrest Whitaker was one of the people you see at the end. I
didn't know that either until I looked it up.
Crazy. We're probably gonna get into spoilers here in a second, so if for some reason you're listening or checking this out and you don't want to have this spoiled for you, come back to it after you see the movie. We'll be going
time codes below, so come back,
check it out. All right, so I mean, this is probably a dystopian satire to the most biggest example that it can be. But I thought that the thing I took away from this movie the most is Boots Riley has a great eye for shooting. And I had moments where I was like, oh, that reminds me of David Lynch, or, oh, that reminds me of Sam Esmail from Mr. Robot.
Sure.
And a lot of vibes in like the color work and like the way that he would frame things, or like the way he would use close-ups. And I think especially like the party scene at Steve Loft's house, with Cash and Lakeith Stanfield, Armie Hammer getting to do a lot there. Thought there was like just a ton of really beautifully shot things juxtaposed with Detroit's art display. But
sure.
what stood out to you most about Boots Riley's work here?
I mean, to that point, 61 locations for the film in a 28-day shoot. Really ambitious. And also on top of that, when you watch it, they change costumes a lot, which is extra challenging for the director because it makes the edit harder if you want to put scenes around, you know? And like Detroit's makeup changes a lot throughout it. So it's just like they didn't hold anything back with making the film, which I thought was incredibly admirable because, again, he's a rookie filmmaker. And but yeah, I think the way it moves from scene to scene is just, it's like really like kinetic, like it's almost like really actiony. It's not an action movie, it's not like, but you know, it feels like a lot's going on all the time. And you know, I mean, when he wakes up in his like new apartment and there's like the triple windows thing, and it's like the way it's framed and you see the outside, then you see Cash, and really cool. It's just really, really cool. And it's really like aesthetically pleasing. Like I thought the movie was so engaging because of the dialogue, obviously, and what's actually happening in the plot, but also just really fun to watch. You know, it's just like the street corner scenes, the bar scenes, anything. It's just it's all like fucking beautiful, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's beautifully shot. I also thought, I mean, how ambitious of him to also do the soundtrack for this with his band, which I thought fit the movie perfectly. Who was your biggest scene stealer for this movie? Which I felt like there were a couple for me, but I want to see what stood out to you.
Yeah, I mean, Lakeith Stanfield's excellent as Cassius Green. He's the lead, obviously, and shout out to him. He didn't get an Emmy nomination for Darius from Atlanta, but this is his first true role. A lot of people probably first became aware of him from Get Out, but again, that's a small part for him. And so I'm really happy that he got this look, and he does a lot of work with this because his character does grow and does change throughout the film. And you know, I think he does awesome, but he's also kind of the plot mover, so it's tough for him to be the scene stealer. Tessa's great, really great. She's great in everything. Selma, Dear White People, Creed, Westworld, Thor 3, Annihilation, Now Sorry to Bother You. He's on a great run, and I just like watching her act, you know? Creed 2 later this year, same thing. But you know, probably the scene stealer for me is when David Cross speaks. The white voice comes out really for the first time, and then like obviously it's spoiled by the trailer. Like when you see that, like the movie just totally like turns it up to 11 at that point on. Once the path to being a power caller happens.
Oh my god!
And then I'm just like, fuck, dude, this rules. You know?
Yeah, and the way he shoots it too. I mean, the way it drops Cash into the person's home, and you see them like kind of interacting, but kind of not interacting.
Great idea.
So clever. Seeing them like celebrating, you know, him with his like manager or whatever it was, like, and they would be like jumping around, dancing. Like at one point, he's like holding him as he's like celebrating. Just like amazing, and the way it kind of takes off from there is great. And not only with, you know, Cash's development, but the conflict and kind of what the whole movie was trying to say in general, I thought was great. You know who really stole a lot of scenes for me was Kate Berlant. She played Diana Debauchery, or Debauchee, I think she's
Debauchery.
Yeah, Debauchery. But like when she was talking, that whole like staff meeting was freaking hilarious. Like everybody in that scene was great.
With the tattoos.
The murder.
I wasn't sure that. Yeah, did he have tattoos the whole time? Because I didn't notice him in his first appearance. And then I saw them. I was like, oh, did he get tattoos for the next scene?
I don't know, something I wasn't really paying attention to. I'll keep an eye for that.
But yeah, all those people were fun. Actually, his first interview scene, which is like the first scene in the movie. Yeah, I thought. I mean,
that was great too. Great. But Kate Berlant also in the elevator, like just the way that she's like basically like trying to show Cash that she's sexually attracted to him, but like very like subtly. And then the elevator, which first of all, shout out Rosario Dawson, like being the voice for that. What? But so freaking funny. And then Omari Hardwick too, I thought was really great, especially when he finally stops talking in the white voice. I like thought that was pretty effective. That was a
great moment. Really earned.
Definitely. What other scenes stood out to you? What else did you really like about the movie?
I think my favorite scene is the rap scene at Armie Hammer's house, because like you're watching the movie and like you get like the social message, social comedy satirizing capitalism in the workplace and whatnot, talking to your boss, all that stuff. That's pretty present because it, is there the whole time.
Mhm.
And then Detroit's performance thing has, a different angle, and you get that. And then the rap scene, you don't really see that another message, another proclamation is coming until like right before it happens.
Mhm.
And it's like, it starts out as like, it's like, this is like a Paul and like like Dance for Me, like black minstrel shit, right?
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, I see that. And then he brings in the rap music, and I'm like, and I'm watching him struggle, and I'm like, just like say Gucci Gang. And sure enough, he goes into the thing, and I'm like, wow, that's equal parts a comedy on poor songwriting in contemporary rap music. And then when the white people say it back to him, I'm like, oh, and that's also like the takeover of rap by white people in the mainstream.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, there's so much here, And it was also
Definitely.
entertaining watching Lakeith do the scene.
Yeah,
So that really brought it home for me.
Yeah, that was. I mean, there was a lot in that scene, and just that, like I said, the whole party scene in general was like overwrought with metaphor. In a lot of ways. I thought a scene that I really liked a lot was when he was going to talk with Steve Loft about the proposition to become like the next Martin Luther King of the Equisapiens.
Yep.
And just like like all the different colored doors, the whole like back and forth conversation.
It's not jade, it's olive.
Yeah, I know that was just hilarious in general, but it was just like in the way that they shot it, and you kind of start to see Steve Loft really coming. I mean, you already saw him as a douchebag when he like first approached him and was like, like, oh, you can't use your like real voice here, and then he's like, oh, I'm just kidding with you. I thought that was a really amazing scene. Also, I like how they made a commentary on like TV shows and how like pop culture in what we take today really plays impacted. There's so much to really break down.
And once Cash like spills the beans on the Equisapiens thing, right, with the proof from the video, what happens? Like he just raises the profile and the stocks go up. I'm like, oh wow, that's another thing where like bad publicity is good publicity, and popularity usually just helps. There's so many little threads. Sometimes they're just acknowledged or shown to you, and other times they're really move through with. Is really impressive. And I mean, the whole third act with Equisapiens thing, I know Boots Riley was saying that some people he would share the script with, because again, he wrote the script a while ago, they'd be like, oh, no, that's too far. Oh, now you lost me, But again, to his credit, his first movie, he stuck to his guns and he was able to get this full movie made. And I don't know about you, but like when I first saw like that fucking massive horse schlong on top of the horse, I was like, oh, wow. Now we're in this shit. Like now we're here. And I didn't think we could get even any more absurd, because that was like Act 3, But it went for it.
Seeing the look Armie Hammer had when he said, "You get a horse cock," was maybe like one of my favorite moments of the year, because you could just tell how like excited he was to like deliver that line. It's pretty crazy. The Equisapien thing is definitely interesting. I think people are going to take it different ways, but I thought it made and kind of hammered home a lot of the points he was trying to touch on throughout. So I have no problem with it. What did you think about the relationship between Cash and Detroit, but then Detroit and Squeeze, and how that wasn't even really touched upon by the end? That was something that kind of stood out to me, as I wasn't so sure about.
Yeah, I really liked how their relationship progressed and then I guess ended as the movie went on, just because they both felt like fleshed out characters with real personalities, and they didn't have like a traditional like nuclear relationship per se, even though he called her his fiance. But yeah, that's a good point. They do kind of just reconcile due to crisis, I suppose. Right. Interesting point. I would like to rewatch the end, because I think at that point I'm just watching it. It's just so much in your face shit by that point that, yeah, it's a good point. Like, how does that relationship really end? How does it stand up as the movie concludes? Good point.
Yeah, that was something that stood out to me. I also really liked, and this is we kind of overlooked him, but Jermaine Fowler as Sal in the movie was hilarious. I thought, I thought, especially when they would be like out in like talking amongst the friends, he always stood out to me as like he's stealing a lot of these scenes.
And then that scene where Cassius decides to go to work, and because he's a power caller now, and they have that argument where they're just one-upping them each other with the compliments, right? I was like, that's hilarious. Yeah, that guy. I mean, the whole cast is full of charismatic performers, and even Danny Glover, not in there a whole lot, but you know, when he's like, "Hey, young blood," you know, it just goes from there.
So good.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's actually funny when you mention the like, I hope you have a nice day off. Like you see on Twitter a lot, like, you know, the I want to be like you, like off that a lot of people have now. I mean, there's so much here, and I feel like we could really talk about and dissect the movie for a long time. But I mean, this made 4.3 million worldwide first weekend, or first large opening weekend. So I hope this continues to make money, and I hope Boots Riley gets a bigger budget for his next project. I know he definitely wants to make more. Any last thoughts on just this movie in general? See it for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely see it. No, I mean these are the movies that, you know, you hope don't go away due to the eventivization of the audience. You know,
right.
Majority of 80% of film goers go twice a year to the two biggest movies of the year, and that's it. You know, and you hope that movies like this don't fall by the wayside. And what's really happening is that movies like this aren't going away per se; they're just costing less, so they have a lower bar of success, like Blumhouse's model. So, but yeah, when these movies are good, everyone tells you it's good, and all the audiences like it too. You gotta support these films. So please go see this movie. I've been telling people about it. Like, I think it's actually coming out at a great time, especially with a Skyscraper underperforming for The Rock, you know. So after you saw Ant-Man, waiting for something, gonna talk about 8th Grade next week. But in the meantime, see Sorry to Bother You.
Yeah, definitely see Sorry to Bother You. I just hope these movies also keep getting a lot of big name actors to be in them. You know, like you look last year, you had Daniel Kaluuya, who really broke out with Get Out, but he was establishing himself, and you also had Allison Williams. But in that movie, I mean, who else is big name? No one really. So I think this is a step in the right direction for these kind of size movies that more bigger name people want to be making them.